I now recognize the gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. Omar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, sorry to belabor this. I know so many people on both sides of the aisle have asked you about the department's decision to remove nursing, teaching, social work, and other critical occupations from the definition of professional degrees and capping their ability to receive federal loans. I know that in my home state of Minnesota, we're expecting to face a shortage of 30,000 nurses in the next 4 years. And I know that your home state of North Carolina, it is expected to see a shortage of 13,000. Our nurses obviously are limited in their capacity, they're overworked, and they're worried. So I know you said the decision is final, but I'm just trying to figure out if you can answer, why did you move forward with an action that you know is going to be creating a problem or worsening a problem that already exists?
Well, first of all, let me correct one thing. We did not remove any of these professions from a professional category. They were never characterized in the law, in the statute, as a professional category. So as these caps were put into place, and many professions were then being reviewed as to what constituted a professional category, guided by the definition of a professional degree from Congress. So that was the overview that we looked at as we were writing this new rulemaking, with the overall goal of putting caps in place that are going to reduce the cost of college.
How is that happening?
Well, I have a couple of articles here already that there are colleges.
What do they say?
They are saying that they are looking at reducing the cost of their graduate programs.
I know, but looking is not addressing the problem that we're currently seeing. What I am asking you is that you've made a decision that is currently making the problem worse.
That is not correct. Let me push back on that.
Are you saying the numbers in Minnesota that we're seeing or in North Carolina are not real?
Well, what I'm saying to you is there are shortages in those states, primarily in the undergraduate nursing program, which is not affected by this new rule and this new cap. Undergraduate programs are not affected at all by this cap.
I know, but
These are only graduate programs, so the shortage is not a result of this cap being put on. The shortage of nursing is that we don't have enough applicants into the nursing programs that are coming through our universities.
So instead of helping with the problem, you've decided to make it worse?
I don't think you ran when I talked about another way to get to an RN, an expedited program. You can get a 2-year certificate and then take the exam to become an RN.
My sisters are nurses. I do know how those things work. I'm asking you about the specific classification that you created that lowers the cap.
We didn't remove them from a professional designation.
I know, but address the cap issue when it comes to the
I just did, because I said it does not impact.
But you said you were trying to lower the cost of tuition. How does that happen?
Because there are already colleges that are lowering the cost of their graduate programs because
what are those colleges?
There's a college in California, University of California in Irvine, and Purdue University in Indiana.
And is it for business or for nursing?
They have lowered them right now and for their business programs.
Yeah, but we're talking about nursing, ma'am.
Well, I hope that they'll look at other programs to reduce the cost.
Business is not something that you had an impact on.
I don't have control over which programs they're doing, but if they have fewer applicants coming into their universities and they realize part of the reason is because their cost is too high, they will lower those costs.
I don't think that is how it works.
It is exactly how it works.
That is not how it works.
It is
your specific job is to try to make sure, as the head of the Department of Education, to make education accessible for Americans. When you create policies that make education unreachable for Americans that want that education, then you are failing at your job.
No, when there have not been caps on programs, and universities have been allowed to charge whatever they wanted, and the student loan program allowed them to borrow up to whatever that university said was the cost, it was time to take action and to put caps in place that are going to
but your caps only create a funnel through the private borrowing system.
That's not true.
Yes, that is what it will do. How else would somebody, if
putting the
if I wanted to get a professional degree and I'm capped and I can't borrow, then I have to, from a public source, then I have to go private. And that is what your administration is really trying to do, is trying to help enrich others on the backs of the American people. I yield back.
Representative Ilhan Omar delivered a pointed and emotionally charged challenge to the Education Secretary over new federal student loan caps affecting graduate programs in nursing, teaching, social work, and other public service careers. Framing the issue around worsening healthcare shortages, Omar argued that limiting access to federal loans would discourage students from entering already strained professions, especially nursing, where states like Minnesota and North Carolina are projected to face severe workforce shortages in the coming years. Throughout the exchange, Omar repeatedly pressed the secretary to explain how reducing borrowing access could possibly lower tuition costs without simultaneously limiting educational opportunity. Her central argument was that the policy would not reduce demand for these professions, but instead force aspiring students into private lending markets with potentially higher risks and costs. She portrayed the move as counterproductive, warning that it would make education less accessible for working Americans seeking professional careers. The secretary defended the policy by insisting that these fields were never formally classified under the statutory definition of professional degrees, and argued that the department's goal was to curb unchecked tuition inflation. According to the secretary, universities had been able to continuously raise prices because federal lending effectively guaranteed institutions unlimited access to student borrowing. By introducing caps, the department believes schools will eventually lower tuition to remain competitive and attract applicants. However, Omar remained unconvinced. She repeatedly challenged the practical logic behind the administration's claims, noting that the examples cited by the secretary involved business programs rather than nursing or healthcare education. The exchange became increasingly tense as Omar accused the administration of undermining public education while indirectly benefiting private lenders. Her final remarks framed the policy as a broader ideological effort that shifts financial burdens onto students rather than addressing the real affordability crisis. The hearing highlighted a deeper national debate over higher education policy, whether limiting federal student loans can genuinely reduce tuition costs, or whether such caps simply transfer financial pressure onto students pursuing essential public service careers.